Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Costa Insights. We are already mid-July. Half the year has passed.
It's flown by.
It's totally flown by. I think it's time that we take a look back at what's happened and also have a look at, things to come.
I've been excited to make this video, and just to give sort of our viewers a bit of structure to what we're going to be covering in this video. The main headlines, the market headlines this year, recap on the news that has been sort of sent out to the world.
Yeah.
We're going to be covering buyer trends, what nationalities are buying, the trends, kind of properties that are currently sort of popular. Mm-hmm. We're going to look at hot areas and projects. Yeah. We're going to look at sort of our in-house performance, what we've been doing, what we see on the ground from our sort of team. Yeah. And then we're going to be covering our crystal ball, like what we think is going to happen towards the end of the year. I think we've got a lot of ground to cover and some really interesting sort of stats and information that people I'm sure can't wait to hear about.
Yeah, should we just get right into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should start at the beginning of the year. Some pretty big headlines dominated the news in terms of the Costa del Sol property market. Let's do a recap of that.
Yeah.
And what the impact of those headlines, what we're seeing the impact of those today.
I think the main headlines this year in sort of property news in Spain have been three major, right? Which is Pedro Sánchez 100% property tax on non-EU buyers.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big one. It was at the beginning of the year. I think it was in January.
Correct. Yeah.
Resurfaced in May. Then we have the rental restrictions and rental regulations. That was a massive.
Yeah, another big one.
Another big one, and the golden visa. I think those were the three main sort of headlines that occupied a lot of our sort of viewers and audience, occupied time and people sort of pay attention to.
Yeah.
Some affected the real estate market, some didn't.
Yeah. I think they all affected the real estate market to one degree or another. Yeah. But I think some were just noise, and others, we've actually seen sort of things happen on the ground.
So in January, let's start with the first one, 100% tax, Pedro Sánchez. We did a whole video on it. We jumped on it number one, like always. Yeah. And we discussed sort of what he proposed in this conference where he addressed the nation or addressed this conference and told them what his plan was for Plan de Vivienda. And then it sort of disappeared. But one of the things he talked about was, including a new tax on non-EU buyers. Yeah. Of 100%, and everyone was going, what? 100%? 100% of what? Of the property price? 100% of the tax?
Oh yeah, total market confusion.
Total market confusion. No one knew what was happening, and then
and then nothing.
And then nothing. Exactly. Again, nothing.
I said nothing happened. So literally all noise.
All noise. Actually, we had a lot of, let's say, American and Canadian clients, sort of, worried about the news, which is obvious, right? So,
it definitely was a thorn in our side for a while. A lot of questions that nobody could answer.
Exactly. So people sort of sending us messages saying, "Hey, I've heard this," and we basically at that moment told sort of our audience and what it was, which is just basically noise. Sort of follow on this news, nothing happened until a few months ago when the news resurfaced again, when the PSOE party put the bill on the Congress table. And since then, we released another video on the update on the 100% tax, basically talking about how, unlikely, according to political experts, and how unlikely, according to lawyers, it is for this to pass. Yeah. So that was number one. That was a bit of noise and a bit of a thorn in our back. But for the rest, has not stopped the market, has not stopped, non-EU buyers, and basically.
Well, most importantly, it was never put into effect.
Exactly, and exactly.
Right.
So I would say that's number one. That was the big headline. Moving on to number two.
I think the second one was the golden visa.
Oh, golden visa. That was in February.
Yeah.
That was in February when
around that time.
Around that time, where golden visas were sort of abolished.
Yeah. So the option to enter, to become a resident of Spain through the acquisition of a property to the tune of 500,000 euros. That basically, that was taken off the table as an option for people wanting to come into the market.
So what I find super interesting is I know of the golden visa since I started in real estate, years and years and years ago. And it's like no one even wanted it until the last moment, right? So it was abolished and everyone was rushing to the visas. It was crazy. That was interesting. That was very interesting. It was interesting to see the amount of people that last minute wanted to jump on the golden visa scheme. Yeah. Whereas years before, hardly anyone even was bothered about it.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the exact statistics, but I know that it was a very, very low percentage of people that in the entirety of sort of the lifespan of the golden visa being an option. It wasn't that many people that took advantage of it. I think that there were certain nationalities that that took maybe Russians and such that took advantage of it more. But overall, not at all.
My analogy, or the easiest way to say it is, you have a group of kids and there's a toy on the table and no one's playing with that toy. The moment like the parent takes the toy away, it's like, oh, I want to play with that toy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what happened with the golden visa.
That's exactly what happened. So that's no longer available. But we also did another video of alternative options to the golden visa.
We invited Marta Fernandez from Manzanares on the channel.
She was great.
She was great. She was really good. That was a good video. A lot of people on subscribers really liked that video, which is great. So those were, let's say, 1 and 2. So 100% tax, golden visa, and I think the third headline, which actually is the most important one, I think, in practice and day to day, which I sort of see. We talk about it a lot in the office. Actually, just before Kim left just now, we were talking about it with a current client, which is on the ground. Is the rental regulations. That was an announcement that was made and then implemented.
Exactly.
And this is basically the change of rental regulations when it comes to short-term rentals. As we know, the Spanish authorities, Spanish government is trying to sort of crack down and control Airbnb to a maximum. So they're making it as complicated as possible for properties to emerge in this market. So tighten up, let's say, tighten up the screw. We've noticed it's become a bit messy on the coast.
Well, I mean, the biggest difference between that headline and the other headlines was that it was more than just a headline, as you just said. Exactly. It was actually implemented. It was rolled out, and so that's not to say that it hasn't. It's also caused a lot of confusion, though, because I think there's a lot of uncertainty from people about what does it mean, what does it not. I think there seems to be a lot of interpretations of the law, both from sort of a regional level, but also even like within communities themselves. Well, people are interpreting the law, and then it's they're sort of taking action. So yeah, there's still a lot of question marks around it.
We were talking about on the channel this now, community administrators, which are interpreting the law in different ways and actually prohibiting or not allowing clients of ours that have properties in communities that allow rentals to get rental licenses. It's like it's the never seen before. It's an absolute. It's quite chaotic, and that's the reality. Like we have someone on the ground right now, as of July 2025, searching for properties with Kim and going out hunting for properties. In this case, you want something to rent out, short term and use it a few times in the year. It gives us a lot more work, which we're happy to do, but it becomes a lot more confusing, to find properties which are specifically allowed to rent within the communities or communities that specifically allow rentals. So all of a sudden, it becomes harder. So I think like these are one of the headlines from the 3. The other 2 were, let's say, important in terms of noise, but this was not just noise. This was implemented and, changed fundamentally the way we work on the street, on the ground.
So, I mean, we've done a video on this as well, which you can all go check out, so you can watch it at length if you really want to understand the details of it. But give us the main points of the impact of this law. So
previously, years ago, if you bought a property that had a rental license from, you could sort of take the rental license over from the old owner. If the community did not specifically prohibit rentals, you get a rental license quite easily. Now, getting a rental license in order to expose yourself on Airbnb, Booking.com, these platforms is very difficult. You need a specific agreement from the community, and apart from that, you need a new code, which is Código Registral Único, from the land registry, which basically means it's not impossible. It just makes it a lot harder.
All right, guys. So if you want to find out a lot more information about kind of the rental license and the rental regulations, check out the video that we did with Miguel Manzanares.
It's a good one.
You can find out all about it.
Yeah.
I think sort of to kind of in one way, it was like we had a lot of. There's a bit of nervousness on the market in Q1, but we've seen a pretty substantial rebound in Q2. I mean, we had a very exciting Q2 and a record last couple of months.
And that takes us nicely onto sort of our next chapter, which is buyer nationalities.
Yeah.
I want to share with everyone what we're seeing on the ground, who's buying, what nationalities are buying, and so on.
Yeah.
But maybe, Matt, in your role in High Homes, you take care of sort of the really early sort of lead flow, interest moment, people that show interest in the really, sort of early stages. Tell us about nationalities and trends you're seeing in nationalities, emerging nationalities, how's things going, and I'll talk about what's going on the ground.
Yeah. So, it'd be interesting to see how one translates to the other, but definitely we're still seeing a lot of interest coming in from the Netherlands. That's one of the dominant markets. Brits are also, still, the Costa del Sol is still popular among Brits. A lot of inquiries coming in from Ireland as well.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of a mixed bag. We're seeing a little bit more activity coming in from the Nordics. So, Sweden, which was otherwise, which has been quite quiet. We're starting to see a little bit more activity. Sweden, Denmark, Norway is very interesting. And then it's a little bit scattered, a little bit from the Middle East. We're seeing some interest coming in from Switzerland, Canada as well. But I think the kind of the market that is growing, that we're seeing growing the fastest, both from an inquiry standpoint, but also practically translating through to transactions, is the United States. Major, like really, really big. And when we're talking to the client, it's both a result of what's happening on a kind of geopolitical level, but also lifestyle. Just looking for a better life. I mean, and it's fascinating because Spain isn't all that close to the United States,
Totally.
and I think Americans that were otherwise looking south of the border are now traveling all the way out here.
Totally.
It's amazing. It's so exciting, actually. It's really, really fun to see the rise of the United States here on the Costa del Sol.
Totally. And also, like, that's what we're seeing on the ground. So, like, people that are out and about at the moment seeing properties. If you look at, our Q1 and our Q2, a huge amount of our sales has been to, Americans and Canadians. What I'm trying to say is interest is translating to sales, right? It's not always the case, right? We have some countries sort of sitting on the fence. You've got clients, other countries which people are not ready to make a move, but sort of make inquiries. But the Americans and Canadians, North Americans, are buying, the same as the Dutch, the same as, some Northern European markets. But I think, like, for me, that's a huge change. Like, years ago, the Americans were not a big buyer. And I think, like, in the Q1 and Q2 for us, they represent only 25% of our business, which is incredible. Like, that's never seen before. Yeah,
right? we started getting hints of it last year, but that was I think last year was still quite dominated by Polish buyers, Dutch buyers.
Why with the Polish, right?
It has gone quiet.
Because we were at this presentation with the developer, and they were like, we got loads of Polish interest, but we actually, like, last year was quite strong.
Yeah, very strong amount. But we saw like this surge, and then it sort of trailed off at the end of last year, and the first half of this year, not too much.
Something that I notice, and I've said it a few times on the channel, is the age of the buyers. So I'm seeing a younger and a younger profile of buyers, right? So, it's no longer the land of 60-year-olds which are looking for a holiday home. Obviously the people still buy holiday homes, but we see so many more relocators, and that's a massive transition to what the coast was, 6, 7, 8 years ago, even 5 years ago. Now we're seeing younger and younger families leave everything behind, and come over from Canada, the US. We've got a lot of Canadians which are relocated, with kids, like sort of interrupting what your normal life cycle is. It's like, no, you normally, keep kids in school into primary, like leaving school in primary,
that's a big move.
Coming over, moving over. The same thing for Dutch. And what we've also discussed on the channel a few times is the emerging sort of digital nomads and younger tech sort of focused relocators that live in the area of Málaga, moving into Málaga. So that's a trend, the younger buyer. And that's, if you look at, the business quality around Marbella, business quality around Calahonda, new businesses are sort of emerging, opening up to cater for younger and younger people. It's really impacting the demographics of the coast in a really good way. It's no longer like an old coast.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 10 years with these people coming in, relocating, permanently living here for a while. It's going to change everything. It's going to probably drive the demand for more international schools.
Totally.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine in Bangkok, actually, who runs a very, very popular American school. And I thought, you should build one here. He says it's an incredible school. It's just going to, and from an infrastructure standpoint, it's really going to change a lot. But right now it's just fun to see people betting. I mean, not just betting from an investment standpoint, I mean, betting their lives. Literally, they're moving here to kind of restart. Very cool.
Yeah. Something that's also quite interesting is to look at what's moving. So now I want to sort of cover projects, areas, what's selling and what's the top areas.
What continues to be a popular area, and what's something brand new that we haven't seen before?
Brand new are, what we've already discussed a few times, which is the areas of Hipódromo, West Estepona, and Málaga. I think those are the newest areas, the emerging areas,
Where's Hipódromo? Can you kind of
so
help
we did a video on Hipódromo with Kim, which will also link on the video. By the way, we're really building up a good library of videos here, like it's like, inform yourself with high homes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we did a video with Kim about Hipódromo. Hipódromo is an area on the west side of La Cala de Mijas, just between Cerrado del Águila and La Cala de Mijas.
Is it Mijas or Fuengirola?
It's Mijas.
It's Mijas, right?
It's Mijas. And this area at the moment has a high concentration of developers, that bought land in developing areas, developing projects with, really cool concepts coming to market, good sort of commercial areas as well coming. The same thing happened in West Estepona, and the same thing happened in some areas of Málaga. What I mean, why do I say new areas? It's not like all the focus is in these areas. It just means there's a lot more stock or a lot more property available in these areas, and sort of clients are flooding there and see opportunity in the long term. No, but nevertheless, we still have a hell of a lot of interest in East Estepona, New Golden Mile, Estepona. You know, Marbella it continues to be the king of the coast in sort of where people want to be. But I would say the hot areas or emerging areas would be those three, right?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, you know, the Golden Mile is as hot as ever.
Yeah.
For example.
What about specific developments and development types? I mean, I know, for example, we've done exceptionally well. A lot of people buying in the Cove, El Chaparral. So, just talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so something which is quite interesting is we have sort of buyers which sort of have told our team what they're looking for, and it could be that things come on the market, you know, at a specific moment, and then you have a lot of people waiting for that specific thing, right? I would say there's a few popular developments which have sort of emerged or come to market in the last 6 months. One very popular one is the Cove. So the Cove is also in Lipódromo. It's a top development in the area, developed by a top developer, Kronos. Super high quality, you know, it's the top for that area. Everything in that area is, I wouldn't say subprime. I mean, you know, you got Alto Chaparral, which is very, very good. But that was very popular. I think like within the first 2 weeks, they sold 20 units, of which I think our clients represent like 7 or 8 sales there. So,
and is that because of the location, or because it's so early stage and it's the price, or is it a combination of those two?
It's
things?
a combination of things,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's been a very popular project, but there's been many others. So like, you know, there's been the release of a part of the second phase of Marine Hills, of the first phase, but the first phase divided into two.
Oh yeah, that was the 2024 favorite of High Homes.
That was the 2024 favorite.
Favorite. I mean, it was like one of the most popular projects that we sold in.
Yeah. Marine Hills basically continued to be quite interesting. So when that part 2 of phase 1 came out, it really sort of rocked our sales team, because everyone was sort of rushing there with clients. That was a very popular one. Yeah. The Capri phase 2, that was another very popular one.
Where was that located?
That's in the New Golden Mile.
Okay.
That's in New Golden Mile.
So what's making those developments popular? Is it the amenities, or like what is?
Depends. I think it depends. Like, you know, in some cases, if it's very early stage, it's the fact that it's very early stage and very well priced, right?
Yeah.
So you get people sort of jump in. Because I mean, don't forget, like there are people which are buying a property, you know, maybe 9 months away or 7 months away from building license. And then once they get the building license, they have to set up contracts, set up the bank guarantees, which takes a few months, and then they have to start building, which is now 24 months. So people in these cases are jumping in 36 months, sometimes 35, 33 months ahead of handover, right? So they're motivated because of one thing, which is early stage, but also early pricing. That's the way these developers price projects, right? Yeah. In other cases, or not all new releases are, you know, have the same capital appreciation potential, or have the same, you know, pricing, are not as interesting from a price perspective. You know? Yeah. You've got developments, you know, of the likes of super sort of high-end St. Regis, which is a development that came to market, you know, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Which is, you know, it's a very different kind of product. It's a hotel branded luxury residence, which is done very, very well. They've sort of sold out their first, I think, 11, 12 units in the first like month and a half of launch, which is extraordinary. And that's popular for very different reasons, because it's sort of a unique concept. Apart from a unique concept, it's a unique product, right? So different things are moving for different reasons. That's one of the nice things about Costa del Sol. It's the variety of buyers. Not all buyers are in the 400 to 600,000 euro bracket. You know, they're buyers for absolutely everything. You know.
But what, among the buyers that are buying here, what like, and the amenity, like what's trending? What are the types of amenities that people are looking for?
The buyer nowadays, like these new construction buyers,
you know, excluding the kind of the high-end branded residences.
I'll tell you something which is quite controversial in a way, but not controversial. It's just the reality is, many years ago, right? If a community, you know, did not have a pool and garden, right, it wouldn't compete, right? Because everything has a pool and garden. It's like, it's standard, right? Like every development has a pool and a garden, right? Nowadays, in all new developments, if you don't have an on-site gym, right, or you don't have a indoor pool, or you don't have, let's say, all these co-working area, you're lacking, you're behind,
So resort-style amenities are a must. Like it's
not only a must, it's a must, but it's also like developments have to bring it to the market. So developers are, sacrificing, golden square meters, and instead of giving them to properties, they're allowing 500 square meters to amenities, which in other cases they do 5 apartments and sell them for another 1.5 million euros. Because if they don't, they're not going to sell out the development.
I mean, so if that's where if that's what the standard at which that developers are offering in all of the developments now, do you have an idea of like what more they might need to do in order to set themselves apart from the competition moving forward? Like, what else can you do? How much more can you fit into a specific development?
Developers are finding it difficult to compete with each other. Like
Exactly.
Now they compete in quality, right? And that's something you see.
So the finishes.
The finishes. And we're seeing like every time like a better user experience, right? Traditionally with the very, very big ones, it's not always been, let's say, it's a fun fact actually, is that if you look at developers' reviews, for example, right? Developers have the worst reviews in Spain because they don't...
Even though they're top developers. And they're good, reliable developers.
Because they don't go out there looking for reviews, right? And they don't look for the positive reviews, so they only get negative reviews now. And now we've sort of seen a very big shift in developers looking for that user experience. It's not just selling your property, it's also selling you the experience of buying a property. That's quite new.
I would imagine energy efficiency being a big one. I think there's a lot more people that are, a lot more people today are environmentally conscious. I'm sure that, that's already trending, if you want to call it something that's trendy.
I think
that's I'm sure that's like, it's also kind of a must.
That's so 2024.
No, I could see that being like a big differentiating factor, like the energy rating and that sort of thing, like, because you got to start to get down to the details in terms of, moving forward, like what else can you offer?
Yeah, I say it is, but like people expect it, if you don't have a B, it's like, why you're not a B is a problem. It's like basically like this is the level now, like if you go into a development and they don't have aerothermia or they don't have solar panels, it's like, well, why don't you? Something's wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think like the mentality of the buyer shifted, right? Before you used to walk in the sales room, sales office of a developer, and they'd go, we have aerothermia and we're A+ or B+, and they go, oh my God, that's a reason for me to buy. Now, if you don't say that, they go, what's wrong with you? Right? They sort of they assume that everything energy efficient, and that's really that's sort of like a mindset for the buyers now.
Yeah. Even though we've talked about this in other videos, that when you move to the Costa del Sol, it's all about outdoor living. I do wonder though if the rise in interest from American buyers isn't going to force developers, depending on the percentage of which Americans continue to buy, to force developers to do larger interiors, because Americans are very used to larger interior spaces. I wonder if we might see a trend in that direction as well.
I toured American clients towards the end of last year and beginning of this year. I was out with a few clients looking at different properties, and the first reaction they have to closet space,
it's tiny.
It's like, what's this? Like, in the US, like I have a massive
This is exactly
space.
my point. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like
can you imagine if there's so many Americans that it sort of forces developers to adapt their product? That'll tell you something.
But let's put that into context, right? If you need to add 20 square meter to a property in order to, let's say, give more wardrobe space to an American client, which 20 square meter is not going to do much. If you sort of divide it in the different wardrobes, it still won't be enough compared to what they used to. But let's just, for the argument's sake, say that you add 20 square meters, and let's times that by an average of 4,000 euros per square meter. Depends on the development. Some are more, some are less, right? We're talking about nearly 80,000 euros of property price difference.
Yeah. So what would you rather?
Would you
rather 80,000 more and have a slightly bigger closet, or do you want to live outdoors a little bit more?
If a developer needs to sell you those square meters, they're going to sell it to you at X, and they're gonna like you need a bigger closet, but
do you really?
Yeah, well, do you really? No, you guys like okay. If I add 20 square meters to this property and add 20 square meters to another 100 properties, that means I might lose 20 apartments, and by losing 20 apartments, I lose 10 million euros in sales. So basically, developers look at for developers to make that change and go, okay, we need to make bigger sizes. I think that's going to be. I think we'll see maybe small changes, but if for American buyers, they normally buy an upper segment to buy bigger spaces. Like Americans and Canadians are not used to 32 square meter living rooms. They're used to 45, 50 square meter living rooms, right?
So, Kian, what's happening with vendors? In other words, people that want to sell their property and agents?
So, in the resale market in all areas of Costa del Sol, not everything's moving at the same speed.
Resale market is in like existing homes being resold?
Existing homes, yeah. Okay. So, like, not everything is moving at the same speed, and not everything's moving as easily.
So what's shifting?
Let's say lower market, or let's say cheaper under 300 is
I was
flying.
going to ask how you define that. Okay,
Yeah,
under 300,000
under
euros.
300,000 is just flying. Like, you know, it sells relatively easy unless it's a studio, right? You know, the mid segment, which I'd say is like, you know, the 600,000 euro market is the most active. 600, 800, you know, that's really moving.
Yeah, you see an
quite
awful
well.
lot of listings within that price range.
Yeah. And then the upper segment, I think upper segment, you go upper segment, you go upper segment.
For
no?
sure.
I think upper segment is slowed down. You know, like people in areas like La Zagaleta, for example, you know, that are listing big homes, 10, 15 million euros. Like, I think the sort of pool of these buyers is really dried up compared to a few years ago. But the upper segment, which is normal upper segment, you know, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, that's
Million.
Yeah, million. That's moving quite steadily. But upper is as far as I see and what I'm hearing, it's a lot more quiet, right? And let me give you an example. Like, you know, branded residences are flying. You know, like we have so much interest in branded. We've sold a lot of branded residences. This segment's quite active, right?
Yeah.
So not everything's moving, right?
Yeah. And that kind of that big mid range, sort of the 600 to 800,000. I mean, those are properties that you got to buy, but you still have to invest in the renovations of them. I mean, they're not like primed properties either.
Yeah. And also, like a trend that's happened, you know, over the last few years and continues this year is, for example, the area of Nueva Andalucia is the highest concentration of renovation projects. La Quinta, Nueva Andalucia, where, you know, local agents and developers go in, buy an older property in La Quinta Hills, for example, spend 150K on it, and basically, if the market price is 500,000 euro and they put 150,000 euros in, they'll basically put it on the market for 950,000 euros, right?
And they're selling.
Well, they were selling. I think like now a lot of things are no longer selling as easily. So the buyer is starting to sort of, you know, push back on certain projects and go, well, I don't see that much value here. They have something to choose from, you know, like they're starting, in some areas there's low stock, in some areas there's too much stock. But if there's not a lot of stock in La Quinta Hills or any of these developments, and you have a renovation project, the buyer's a lot more discerning and go, well, I won't pay that for this property. So a lot of developers are rethinking pricing strategy as well.
Do you think that the buyer is thinking, listen, enough's enough? You know, you got the agencies that are maybe trying to push, you know, see how far they can push the numbers.
Totally.
And they're becoming the buyers are becoming a lot more savvy.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like we've never had more informed buyers than now, right? The thing is, this market's so varied. Like we have like you know, if you come to market and you're looking to buy a property up to, let's say, 1 million, right? Or 800,000, and you're looking at Mijas Costa to Estepona, you enter into these small mini markets. They are markets of their own, you know, and there's so much variety. Like, you know, it's not the same to spend 1 million in areas like, you know, East Marbella than it is in La Quinta, you know, where you might get more value for money in East Marbella than you would in Benavides. So it's a very interesting market. And I think, like, people, you know, it's good that buyers are as informed as they've never been as informed as they are today. There's so much information out there.
So you know, based on what we've seen happen, or what you're seeing happening on the ground so far this year, what advice would you give to people that are on the market right now looking to sell their properties?
Yeah, price well. So
for example,
agencies are finding it difficult to list properties. So we're seeing, you know, a lot of typically resale agencies moving to the new construction market because they're running out of, let's say, listings, right? And this is something we're seeing a lot. So what happens is that when someone comes to market and wants to sell their property, they'll have interview with 1 or 2 or 3 different agencies, and the agencies will sort of overcompensate in order to get that listing and go, yeah, if the market price is 500, I'll promise the vendor I can get him 430, 440, and then let's sign
just to get the listing.
Let's sign the listing agreement, and then it'll sit in the market a bit, and I'll blame market conditions and ask you to sort of reduce the price.
Nothing worse than a stale listing.
There's nothing
worse than a stale listing.
But that's something typical resale agents are finding it very hard to get product in certain markets. That's for sure. And we're seeing 100% resale agencies come into the new construction space because they need different stock to move.
So back to my question, what advice would you give to vendors, people that are looking to sell their properties today?
Right now is the time to sort of, you know, understand really well who you're working with, and more than ever before, ask the right questions. You know, what has the agent in front of you that's pitching to sell your property? What has he sold, and what have they sold? What's their specialty? And make sure that, you know, when it comes to pricing, that you yourself don't just rely on what they're telling you, but also fight it back and go, well, why is this price lower? Why is this price higher?
Do your research and make sure that whoever you're working with has a strong track record, a strong resume on the market.
100%.
Yeah, great. I think it's time that we touch on High Homes' performance.
So
let's kind of like bring
really
the
cool.
audience up to speed on how far we've come.
This is really cool because, for a lot of the audience, they see myself sitting here talking about, let's say, market trends, market updates, expert talks, and cost insights.
Yeah.
But a part of, or the biggest part of my day-to-day is running the business alongside yourself. But a very important part is being beside our sales agents, beside our rock stars, making sure that we're delivering the right service to our clients, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're involved in every single transaction.
Pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
To a certain degree.
Absolutely. So after 12 years in business, it's been our record year. So we've never done as many sales in terms of both sales value and then amount of sales.
Number of transactions.
Yeah. But it's not only that; it's also the number of nationalities we're working with. I'm sort of very proud that we have such a varied amount of clients. We don't really depend on one market per se.
For sure.
We work in a variety of them, and we also sell all kind of properties, right? So from new developments like the Cove, which just launched, to a beautiful Design Hill, St. Regis, or Epic, or whatever it is, right? Resale villa in Liberia. It's with everything, okay?
Yeah, and also the diversity of the team.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The international. I mean, the team of rock stars that they built is like we're so incredibly proud of them.
Absolutely. And we continue to do what we're doing, which is protecting the energy within the team, making sure that we deliver excellent service to our clients and sort of keep that level there. So in terms of sales, that's that. And I expect that to continue until the end of this year, into next year, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah.
That's from sales perspective. Then talking about a sales rockstar. I'm walking up there right now. So in terms of marketing, that's the next one. Oh look, a second rockstar. It's like the plans.
On cue.
Right. So marketing. Let's talk marketing. That's another side of it. So one thing is the sales, another thing is marketing. I think what's really something to talk about this year is our view count. This year, or as of 11th of July, 15th of July, sorry, we've currently hit 9,250 subscribers. But subscribers is one thing, and it's incredible from 1 to 9,250, sorry. But what's even more impressive, in my opinion, is that our YouTube channel is currently hitting cumulative views every 30 days of 220 to 230,000 views.
That's a lot of eyeballs.
That's a lot of eyeballs. We're talking hundreds of comments, a real engagement community. Also across Instagram, people sending us messages every day, people calling our front office, wanting to get in touch because of the channel. So, actually, thanks to you guys watching.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
For watching,
tuning in, people which wait for our videos, and we want to continue delivering, this level of content, this level of good services.
Oh, we got big ambitions for the channel, don't we?
Yeah, big ambitions, and that's maybe something to talk about, is we want to sort of grow the channel into a lot more than what it currently is. And we're going to be expanding our marketing team, and that's super exciting as well.
Yeah.
That's what I would say in terms of sales and marketing. And maybe a nice other thing to add is we're currently expanding our office. That's another performance update for High Homes.
We'll be updating everybody on that too, right?
We need to do a tour of the office. I think that really covers it all.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's quite fun to see, though, is the developers as well. The developers continue to invest in the market. I mean, we're not seeing a deceleration of new products coming to market. We're quite the opposite. We're seeing an acceleration.
Yeah.
There is constantly new product, as we call it, being brought to market, and I think that's also like a very, very strong signal to everybody that's interested, maybe sitting on the fence and wanting to buy. It's like things are continuing to move very, very strong in that direction. Super excited about everything we have going on in the business, both on the sales side of things, marketing side of things. So yeah, we're going to continue to keep you guys posted on all those fronts.
Cool.
Very exciting
so,
times.
Chapter 5.
Crystal ball.
Let's
talk about the future.
Okay. I'll start.
Future, like the rest of the year?
Yeah, let's say until the end of this year, right?
Perfect,
and I think it's quite straightforward.
It is, yeah.
I think what we're currently seeing is exactly what's going to continue to happen, right? In terms of bionationalities, there's nothing major is going to change.
We're going to continue to see Americans investing, Dutch market,
What I find interesting fact to sort of cover is that, from now until December, we pretty much have buyers booked in every single week of the year to see property.
Definitely.
And that if that doesn't sort of tell people what's happening in the market. Well, I think that's a perfect example. Like, what is there left? 25 weeks of the year, 22, whatever it is. Every single week, multiple buyers with our team seeing property.
What's been really fun? A difference from last year was consistency of buyers on the ground through the summer months. So these weeks right now, and what we're living right now, is otherwise are normally like a lot of sort of passive buyers, people that maybe are on the beach and maybe they've had too much sun the previous day, something like that. Just want to go to look at a couple of properties. These are like active buyers on the ground right now. That's a pretty cool change. So I know that's not so much crystal ball, but it's actually what's happening right now. I mean, the office feels relatively empty because everybody's out on viewings.
It's true.
Incredible, super cool.
Another thing is projects. So this is what you were mentioning earlier. Is we've seen no slowdown of new releases.
Quite the opposite.
It's the opposite. It's an acceleration.
An acceleration of new developments on the market, or coming to market, or the whispers are like be ready because there's something. And each of the developers is telling us something different in terms of what they're offering, but there's so much more to come in the pipeline.
I was having a dinner with a US client of mine in Marbella Center, and he plays in the Marbella Club Resort, which is in Rosario. It's not the one in Benavides, it's the one next to Santa Clara. And the resort's just been bought by Igor Resort.
See?
Right? And people go, hey, okay, why is Igor Resort buying a golf resort? And I go, they're not buying a golf resort, they're buying everything around it. So like,
you think they're gonna do the same thing that they've done?
Let's see. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to pull that off, but I'm sure that the reason they bought the golf resort is that there's loads of land around it. As far as I see, right? It could be that I'm mistaken, by the way, but I'm just thinking that's what I see. So a lot of players are coming to market in different areas, and big developers buying up land. So like, there's exactly no deceleration, quite the opposite, and acceleration. And crystal ball to buyers looking to buy this year is that it's very difficult it's harder than ever to navigate the real estate market.
Why is that?
Because, and that's going to continue to do so, because there's so much variety and it's so difficult to understand in both resale and new development, understand where to knock on the door and how to get the most updated information. Like before, agents would pretty much get a price list from an updated, from a developer and understand what's for sale, or they'd pretty much, see what's on our MLS and see what's for sale. But now it's becoming a task, even within our WhatsApp group of the business, to understand what the developers are holding back and what agents have in terms of pocket listings, which is not advertised. So it's harder than ever to actually see everything that's for sale, and more than ever, I think buyers rely on agents, where maybe a few years ago it would be easier to navigate alone. Something which is also interesting is there's a new concept coming to market, is developers are coming to market with build to rent. And this outlines how strong the relocation market is in Costa del Sol. What does that mean? Is that big names, and we're going to be sort of announcing them as and when we get offered these projects, because they're great for investors, but also good for tenants, is developers are building to rent out long term. So they're going to be sort of building their own resort with all the facilities that all these resorts have.
Makes sense.
And then renting them. So for a premium, but you'll have your concierge and everything, and ultimately keeping that profit. And then they'll also offer a sort of a product where you buy it as an investment and they pay you a return. So that's something we're going to see this year in Mijas and Estepona.
Given the kind of the new short-term rental regulations, do you foresee developers coming out with developments that people can buy, but with rental licenses already in place?
I think I mentioned this in one of the videos a few months ago. What's going to happen is the following. Developers, before they hand over the project, are going to include in the statutes...
That's exactly what I mean.
That's what you mean, yeah? So the rental is specifically allowed. And clients...
they'll be able to charge a premium for those properties.
They won't charge a premium, but it just basically will mean that,
it's one less headache that you have to worry about.
One less headache. I don't think they're going to ask for a premium for it, but that's going to be a different way that's going to be a different selling point.
That makes so much sense.
We have indoor pools, we have a gym, we have, a outdoor pool and landscape gardens. You know what we also have? As soon as you sign title deed, within the statutes of the community, we're going to allow rentals. That's going to be something that's going to be seen more and more.
So, I mean, would they be allowed to do that? Because isn't it about like transfer of ownership of the property that the short-term rental license doesn't carry across to the new owner? I wonder how they would get around that.
It's not about that. It's basically they form the community and they own 100% of the property in the community.
Okay,
right?
That makes sense.
They agree in their first AGM that rentals are allowed, and then they start selling off.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's how I suppose that's how I suppose they would do it. But again, that's my prediction. That's my forecast.
This is crystal ball.
Yeah, crystal ball. There you go. I think that's it.
That's a wrap. That was fantastic.
That was good.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe we just finish by asking you guys for feedback. We'd love to hear your thoughts
Comments.
on what you think of our crystal ball and what our take is on the first half of the year. Maybe
Do you agree? Disagree?
Exactly.
Maybe you've seen
Comments.
something different than what we're seeing here on the ground. This is just our take on it.
Absolutely. And like always, if you found this video useful, press that button, like the video, so we know we're doing a good job. And like always, if you want to stay posted with videos like these, subscribe to the High Homes YouTube channel. And if you want to be notified every time we bring a video like this out, press that bell button. So every time we do a video and we post it, you'll get a ding ding and you can check it out. So I think that's perfect, guys. Until the next time, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.